news. Okay, we'll start with this. A lengthy comment from Claressa Shields herself that reads, I ignore these fake boxing YouTube creators. They're jealous because of my success.
The go-to whenever somebody says something about Claressa that she doesn't like, they're jealous.
They can't say nothing bad about my boxing or my career, so they're so loud about my relationship. I'm with a man that's been separated before I even met him.
Lady, nobody really cares about your washed-up mixtape rapper boyfriend. You really think people are jealous of your relationship?
Now we're together and people keep switching the story up. I wasn't no damn mistress or side chick. Remy Bin had a man she was in a relationship with before I met Papoose in 2024, but they don't want to talk about that.
No, they don't want to talk about it, but you do because you get more attention for that than your boxing matches.
All these YouTube channels are being paid to spread lies and defame my character.
Being paid? Being paid by who? Ain't nobody paying me.
I'm working through behind the scenes. I'm taking the proper steps to get all these YouTube channels and their content removed. Some of these people will also be in court.
More idle threats of legal action from Claressa Shields, who's been making threats like this for years now, and to date, she hasn't taken anybody to court for anything that they've said because she can.
She could have, she would have already. I remember when the sparring footage of her and that Eastern European guy was released. She threatened to take them to court. To date, she still hasn't, because that's not breaking any laws.
Any rules?
You're just embarrassed that you got knocked on your ass by what wasn't a world-class boxer, what wasn't a world-class athlete. This is the woman who would have you believe she can knock out Rolly, and she can knock out Keith Thurman, and she can beat them in a boxing match, beat Triple G too.
She's the one that said it.
And so she's the one that's embarrassed when she gets knocked on her ass in sparring by a little-known Eastern European fighter who couldn't have had more than 4 or 5 fights at the time of that sparring session. You're embarrassed.
You should be embarrassed.
She's managed to accomplish a great deal as an amateur boxer and as a professional, and yet the big endorsements still haven't come in. She's not a brand ambassador for any major brand or some corporation because she's got the personality of a bear trap. And no matter how many vacant titles in those barren weight classes you pick up,
no matter how many times you've gone undisputed in what are empty divisions,
you're not a good ambassador for the sport. When Katie and Amanda are both gone by year's end, they're gonna leave behind some very big shoes to fill. And I don't think that Claressa is the one to fill them.
Some people would have you believe that she and she alone is the rising tide that lifted all boats.
I came across a rather nauseating post that Claressa Shields herself reposted to her Instagram page from someone who goes by the name Present Income.
A glazer.
A groveler who's trying to get invited to that proverbial cookout I'm always talking about, who said, Claressa Shields calls herself the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time, and the resume backs it up.
Oh, because she's got a better resume than Katie?
She won back-to-back Olympic gold medals, becoming the first American boxer in history to do so.
It may be, but she's not the only one that's done that before. Nicola Adams also won 2 gold medals back-to-back.
She holds the record for becoming a 2, 3, 4, and 5 division world champion in the fewest professional fights ever recorded.
It's easy to do that when you're doing it in barren weight classes and when the alphabets are gift-wrapping titles for you to win. I mean, they're literally manufacturing titles out of thin air for Claressa.
That's what they did at heavyweight.
Present Income continued. She's held 18 major world championships spanning 5 different weight classes throughout her career so far. She is currently the undisputed female heavyweight champion, a title she's held since February of 2025. Nobody in the sport, male or female, has climbed weight classes and collected titles at that speed ever before.
Well, the other fighters aren't fighting for as many vacant titles as she is. When you're fighting for titles that no one is holding in divisions where nobody's fighting, you can do that.
She fights the best available opponents in any division and never ducks a single name on the list. The nickname is not marketing. It is a direct reflection of a resume that speaks louder than any critic.
Wait till I show you the fun part.
Claressa Shields did not ask for the title of the GWOAT. She simply made it impossible to argue against completely.
What do you mean impossible to argue against it? People are arguing against it now, raising many talking points that Present Income willfully chose to leave out. That Claressa competes in, by and large, the emptiest weight classes in all of women's boxing, where there are the most vacant titles, making it easy to become a 3-time, 4-time, 5-time undisputed champion. It's not like in those other weight classes where you have to fight someone for every belt you collect.
Whoever this guy is, he doesn't keep up with women's boxing. He's just reading back to us the wiki from Google.
Yeah, anybody can tell you Clarissa's been undisputed a good number of times, but can they tell you who she fought to become undisputed?
What, Danielle Perkins?
A 42-year-old fighter with only 5 professional fights going in, coming off a year layoff, who had never even fought in a 10-rounder.
Yeah, that's some fucking resume.
Now here's the twist. In order to glorify Claressa Shields, this present income character seemingly took Katie Taylor down a peg, posting these AI-generated images.
AI-generated cartoons to make an AI-generated retrospect.
Which Claressa Shields reposted to her Instagram page at a time where Katie is about to make her swan song.
You think that's a coincidence?
Katie Taylor's next fight is a stadium fight.
Got it.
At Croke Park. And the tickets for the fight sold out in about a half an hour.
I'm fairly confident Clarissa's not as happy for her as she lets on. I'm fairly confident that when news broke that Katie Taylor's fight sold out just a half hour after tickets went on sale, Claressa Shields was in her house, shaking her fists at the sky and punching the air.
Because why would she post something like this at this time to her own Instagram page that takes Katie Taylor down a peg? If you want to glorify Claressa, go ahead, but why involve Katie?
Well, the guy that made it's just another white boy that wants to be black.
Tell you, it's just another guy trying to get invited to that proverbial cookout. So of course he's gonna take a shot at the white fighter in order to elevate the black fighter, when in reality, if not for that white fighter, that white woman, Claressa doesn't get to win 2 gold medals because she doesn't get to go to the Olympics, because before Katie Taylor made it possible for girls to fight in the Olympics,
no girls were winning nothing. No medals of any kind. They weren't even included in the games before Katie Taylor made that possible.
Katie was the primary driving force behind the International Olympic Committee approving women's boxing for the Olympic Games. Before her,
none of these girls were able to win anything, Claressa Shields included.
Yet this present income individual would have you believe that Claressa Shields is in any way the rising tide that lifted all boats?
Who the fuck is she uplifting? She's at odds with everybody. Her male contemporaries, her female contemporaries, people inside of boxing, people outside of boxing.
Who the fuck is she uplifting? She's at odds with everybody.
At odds with MVP.
When there's no promoter in the sport of boxing right now doing more for the women than MVP, and seriously, who do you think has helped more women in the sport? Claressa Shields? Or MVP, that now hosts the most diverse and simultaneously the most robust collection of world-class women boxers the sport has ever seen.
I'm surprised that present income guy didn't mention that.
It's just another white boy that hates being white.
Because he's white?
Oh, no, it's because he's weak. He doesn't draw a sense of pride from either himself or his own lineage, his own ancestry, so he gravitates towards what he believes is strong.
And sucks its dick.
Groveling at the altar of the DEI quote.
Shamelessly, because his entire aim is getting invited to that proverbial cookout.
$50 says this guy's a liberal.
Not having a strong enough sense of self, sense of pride in who and what you are, irrespective of what your drawbacks are, because nobody's perfect. The weaker ones, like present income, would instead grovel at the altar of someone else's narcissism to bask in their perceived strength.
This guy's kissing ass to get invited to the cookout. We see it all the time.
She ain't the rising tide that lifted all boats, because who does she uplift when she's at odds with virtually anyone and everyone?
Whoever don't kiss her ass.
I ain't gonna. I like to think of myself as a harbinger of truth, even when that truth is inconvenient and uncomfortable and sometimes taboo.
Boxing gods have sent their messenger.
The truth is far more important than stoking someone's ego.
Be stroking.
You only tell the story this way from your own inferiority complex.
So feel inferior if that's what you want to do, but that ain't the truth. The truth is that the rising tide that lifted all boats is in fact Katie Taylor, because women being allowed into the Olympics had the biggest effect on women's boxing.
That's what created the big women's boxing boom we've been seeing the last decade. That's what helped raise the bar, not Claressa.
She benefited from it.
But she ain't the catalyst, and even now she's not the rising tide that lifts all boats, because MVP is doing more for more women in women's boxing than Claressa ever did. All Claressa does is aggrandize herself.
You're too weak to tell the truth, but it's okay.
I'll do it. Because somebody has to. Winning a bunch of vacant titles in a bunch of empty weight classes didn't change the game.
Nothing wrong with winning vacant titles, by the way.
Sometimes that's how it is, but when you go as far as calling yourself the greatest woman of all times, you have to have more to show for it than titles that no one was holding.
In the emptiest divisions in the entire sport.
At this time, there are only 6 registered American female heavyweights. Only 6. Only 47 worldwide. At the time that Claressa Shields moves up to the heavyweight division, there were not 3 and 4 world champions up there reigning. There was only one.
You know that there weren't even 3 and 4 titles to win.
The alphabet organizations manufactured titles for Claressa to fight for, meaning
They didn't even exist before they gift wrapped them for her.
But go ahead and tell me how winning those belts under those circumstances makes her the greatest woman of all times.
The harder they try to push this agenda, the harder I have to push back. Women's boxing deserves much better than Claressa Shields as its face, as its ambassador.
And that she would repost something like this to her own Instagram page at a time where Katie Taylor is set to bow out from the sport is just a testament to how tactless and how classless and how jealous.
She's jealous of everybody.
Do you honestly think Amanda Serrano gives a rat's furry fucking ass how many vacant titles you won when she makes more money than you do and she's more beloved than you are while she's gracing the cover of Time magazine?
As one of its 100 most influential athletes across all of sports.
You think she's jealous of you. You think Katie is. When she's about to fight at Croke Park, she's got a stadium fight that's sold out in a half an hour.
You're never gonna do that.
You think Katie Taylor's jealous of you when she's the reason you even got to fight for a gold medal, let alone 2? No Katie Taylor, no Claressa Shields.
That's the truth.
That's the quote, but Katie's too humble to ever take on a moniker like that herself.
Claressa can call herself whatever she likes. There's always going to be a large section of the boxing community that disagrees.
A lot of things got to be right for you to sell $1 million, but so after you did that, that had to put you in a different position negotiating wise. So behind the scenes with Al and stuff, after you pulled that off, what type of position were you in from a business standpoint to call your shot for the next one?
I mean, you was getting, 6 stars treatment. Like, yeah, like basically like anything you wanted or anything you asked for, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to make it work. It don't matter if it's not possible. They're gonna try to cater to you in a way to make it possible. So, I was happy with, what I was getting, what they was offering me, and if I asked for anything, it was at my disposal. You know what I'm saying? Regardless if it made sense or not. Like,
They're gonna try to make it happen.
Yeah, they were trying to make it happen because a lot of people don't know that I only signed one contract with Al. Like, even today, I'm free. I've been a free agent.
Till a handshake?
Yeah, just handshakes and just, you know what I'm saying? I know Al always treated me right, so,
Yeah.
It's something I would stick with, but even to this day, like, it always just been a handshake, always been an agreement. That's just how we always been. And, he gave me, anything I need. I don't ask for nothing too crazy, but, I just ask what I think is right.
Yeah, right.
Very important nugget in there that Errol Spence disclosed that to date, he's always been a free agent. And most of what he did with Al Haymon was done on a handshake, a verbal agreement, which begs the question, if that's the case, why were you the one playing sides of the street? Why was that used as an excuse to put off the Terrence Crawford fight that could have and should have happened sooner?
Errol's the one who coined the phrase, sides of the street. He's the one that started all of that, saying that Terrence was on the wrong side of the street.
Even though Top Rank never requested that Errol Spence Jr. cross over to their side and let them be at the helm of the promotion, what they proposed was a co-promotion, like what they had already done with Wilder and Fury.
That's what they wanted to do with Terrence and Errol.
This is important because you still have a lot of Errol Spence Jr. fans out there trying to rewrite history and make it Terrence's fault that the fight didn't happen sooner. A guy who goes by the name Ben Haven.
A fucking idiot.
Terrence Crawford is really a sneaky bitch. It took him 5 years to hold out on Errol. He waited till bro was back against the wall and physically fucked up to push for the fight.
Is he serious?
He's great, but he's a fake-ass raccoon eye-having ass jigger.
So you're telling me this Ben Haven guy must have missed the 5 years it took to put this fight together, where Terrence was the one pushing for it the whole time, before and after Errol's car accident.
And it was Errol and the PBC jointly finding reasons to put it off. In Errol's own words, Terrence was on the wrong side of the street.
What side of the street? You just said that you're a free agent, and you always have been.
And it was the VP of Communications at the PBC, Tim Smith, that said the fight between them isn't commercially viable.
What do you mean it's not commercially viable? That turned out to be the biggest fight Errol was ever in.
Bigger than the Mikey and Danny Garcia fights, bigger than the Porter fight, bigger than the Ugas fight, bigger than the fight that he's about to have. Yet Tim Smith would have had you believe
Excuses.
that it's not commercially viable, and that's why they didn't want to do it.
Now look at this Ben Haven guy. He would have you believe that Terrence is the reason that the fight didn't happen sooner because he's trying to rewrite history. If Errol Spence Jr.'s physical condition deteriorated over time, that's his own fault.
That fight with Terrence was available before he had the car accident. He's the one who prioritized fighting Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter.
There is an overwhelming amount of evidence that confirms it. So what is Ben Haven really trying to do here? And he's trying to rewrite history, hoping that if enough time passes and he tweets enough tweets...
If he tells this lie enough times, people will start to believe it and the truth will be buried under it, in the past.
Still trying to make excuses for Errol being dominated by Terrence Crawford. I knew that when Errol Spence Jr. sat down with Andre Ward to talk about what happens, these kinds of people were going to come out the woodworks.
Ready to believe whatever Errol had to say about it. Irrespective of what evidence is to the contrary, they just needed the green light from him to go with any excuse that he makes, any version of the story he comes up with. That'll be good enough for them.
The problem is, there is too much evidence to the contrary of Errol Spence Jr. and the PBC themselves being the ones that put off that fight. Before and after Errol Spence Jr.'s car accident, Terrence didn't wait until Errol's physical condition declined to fight him. He'd been trying to fight him for 5 years.
And let's be honest that in spite of that car accident, there were still a lot of people like Ben Haven picking Errol Spence Jr. to win, so that when he doesn't, what you end up with is a 3-year case of sour grapes.
Sore fucking losers.
You have to understand that they really resent Terrence Crawford for winning that fight. They feel like they had a good thing going up until Terrence comes in, crashes the party.
I told you all so many times in the build-up, if Errol Spence Jr.'s fans had it their way, that fight would never see the light of day because they didn't really want to know.
Afraid of what would happen, they were ready to live without the Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford fight, and you can see why.
Look at what happened, and look at how bitter they still are about it.
Fucking losers, man. Sore fucking losers.
When there was never any version of Errol that could beat Terrence.